All right. So yesterday when I was trying to explain HTML to you, I kind of said that it was like the framework for your house, like literally the framing of your house, the wooden 2x4s that go up that will eventually hold up your walls and everything else. So web pages display content, and they have an underlining structure defined by HTML, and the content can include text, images, links. It can even include audio and video now. Most HTML elements are written using opening element, those brackets that we created yesterday with the tag inside, and then closing element, which has the backslash and then the tag. And that tells the browser what type of content to display. So the tags are written in a specific order to help define the structure of the page, which was what we started to put together yesterday. So I have a little example right here. Let me make this a little bit bigger so you can probably see it. So the example on the right shows 3 common HTML tags. H1, which is our heading text, and it's good for page titles. A P, or paragraph tag, specifies paragraph text, and that's good for our body copy. And then image, or IMG, displays an image specified by a source file. So when you put those all together, you get hello, welcome to my website, and then a beautiful image of a grayed out sunset. And here it is a little bit bigger. H1 with the closing tag, paragraph with the closing tag, and then image source. But the image source does not have a closing tag. And we'll get into that a little bit more. We'll look at that. So what is the difference between regular old HTML and HTML5? Well, there's actually a lot. And when I was going to school, HTML5 was somewhat written. However, it was not the preferred method of HTML backed by the World Wide Web Consortium, the W3C. So I had to learn all of my HTML as HTML4, and then about 2 months after I got my degree, the W3C said, you know what, HTML5 will be the law of the land. And I had to go back in and learn HTML5. So it was published in October of 2014 to improve the language with support for the latest multimedia. So think of all the things going on your smartphones and your tablets. HTML5 introduces elements and attributes that reflect typical usage on modern websites. Those new elements are, and these were the things that would go inside of your brackets: article, aside, audio, BDI, canvas, command. You can see there's just tons of different elements that were added. One thing you might notice is the footer element. We used to just call it something else in HTML4. And then you have new types of form controls like dates and times, email, URL, search, number, range, tel for telephone, color, and then new attributes, character set, or async. Not too much that you need to worry about, but it's good to know that, you know, HTML5 is different. It's good to have some information on what it is that you're doing. So I have a quick little video I'm going to play that kind of explains HTML5 in a nutshell.
So, if you've been paying attention to chatter on the internet these days, especially geeky chatter, you may have heard the term HTML5. Well, what is that? HTML stands for, forget it, but it's the behind-the-scenes coding language that makes us able to see stuff online. Since the original HTML was invented with the web over 20 years ago, it has gone through many updates, but it's been more than a decade since the last one, and in web terms, that's pretty much forever. I mean, like 10 years ago, we all still loved our digital watches.
Oh, wow! Calculator!
So HTML has been a few steps behind changes on the web for quite some time. For example, when video came along, there was no way to integrate it naturally into HTML, so different companies developed their own video players to work around it. These worked okay, but they were all external plugins, meaning that you had to download them, and this was, well, annoying and potentially risky. HTML5 is adding capabilities to deal with this stuff, like video, right into its code, so that plugins hopefully won't be necessary. And there's plans to add a bunch more cool stuff that previously was tricky or even impossible to implement with HTML alone. The overall hope is that someday it will create a standard, consistent web experience across all devices and browsers. HTML5 is still being developed, and as of early 2012 isn't 100% finalized, but the browsers are starting to implement some of its features, and together they are working hard to get HTML5 fully ready for, someday in the future.
So you can see that that video is a couple years old, but out of all of the videos I've seen like that were under 2 minutes on the web, it really does give you a really good overview of exactly what HTML5 is. So I continue to show it even though it says it's not ready. It is a standard that we use now. So after we discussed how HTML is our frame for our house, we get into the CSS, which is more of our decorations. So that's when we put the paint on, we put the siding on, we put on a nice back deck, maybe with some stairs and some landscaping. That is the equivalent of CSS. You can't create the CSS without having the HTML first. And you'll see what I mean when we get in there and we start to create CSS. What it is CSS will start to, beautify our website by creating selectors. And those selectors reference back to different things in our HTML. So if I want to change all of my H1 tags to have, a specific font size, or maybe be bold, or maybe be centered, I need to actually have some H1 tags for them to reference inside of my HTML. So that's why we usually do the HTML first. So with HTML, you're given a basic structure to your web page, but there's not much customization to the style or the layout, and eventually you're going to want to add colors, format your text and images, and reposition elements on your page. So CSS is a language that works side by side with the HTML to apply those styles and to format your web page. Use CSS to find one or more HTML elements, and then you provide additional instructions for what to do with that element, such as change its color or center it on the page. So that's what it does, is it targets your HTML. It goes looking through your code and it's like, all right, I need to scan and find everything that's an image because I'm going to change all my images to this. So it's really important when you're making those CSS selectors that you spell things correctly and they match up to what you've named things in the HTML, because it's kind of like doing a find. Like if you do a Command F to find something, and if you were looking for a specific document to open on your computer and you knew it was there, but you misspelled it in the find, it's never going to find it. So it's kind of the same thing. It goes searching and finds everything in the HTML code. So you got to make sure that they match up. So here's an example on the right that shows how to use CSS to change the appearance of the 3 HTML elements. So here's your HTML here that we had created, and then you create a CSS that references back to that HTML. Oh, excuse me. So your H1, you would create a selector, and you'll notice there's like brackets instead of the these squiggly brackets instead of the regular brackets, and then you would say text align center. So that centered my headline text. Then P, so I'm going to target all my paragraph text. I want the color to be red, I want the font to be bold, and I want the text to be centered. So you can see how it changed it from this to this. Then for my image, I want the width and the height to be 150 pixels and 100 pixels respectively. So that shrunk that image up. So that's what it does, is it targets different things in the HTML, and it tells it what to do and how to look when it's rendering on your browser. So here's a quick little video of CSS in a nutshell.
From Headstand Media in Chicago. This is WebSmart TV. The basics of the web in about a minute. What is CSS? CSS, or Cascading Style Sheets, are a simple mechanism that are used in the web development world today to add style to web pages or documents. When CSS is used, a website's standardized elements such as fonts, colors, and spacing are all controlled by the CSS file. The significance behind CSS lies in its ability to separate a document's content from its presentation. In other words, CSS allows for things a document is saying to be uniquely disconnected from the way the document looks. This disconnect is actually a good thing because it means that the look and feel of a website can be tweaked, updated, or transformed without any change at all to the content that's on the page. It's a powerful tool that can set websites free to do what they were meant to do, engage and amaze users, and connect them with the content they're looking for. If you'd like to learn more about CSS, visit us at websmart.tv. Until next time, stay smart.
All right, so that is, CSS in a nutshell. Basically, you can have a website that has all of this body copy, all of your copy that you've put in, and you can change the CSS and make it look like a completely different website just by changing the CSS, but not changing the HTML. It's kind of like if you've created something in InDesign, and you have all your text in there. You have your headline in there, you have your images in there, you have like your body copy in there, your ad copy, and then you keep all of the copy the same, but you change all the colors, you change the fonts, you change the location of things, and you just rework the layout. That's pretty much what CSS does. So the HTML is like all of your body copy that you had in InDesign, and the CSS is that rework of that body copy, the making it look the way you want it to display. All right, so yesterday we had talked a little bit about media queries, and I said that you were going to see them, but that the code was already there for you in the website you're going to be downloading. And I showed you an example of Smashing Magazine, which I'll pull that back up because I think that that's a really good example of a responsive website and how a media query basically uses @media rules to include a block of CSS properties that will only happen, like that CSS will only run if certain conditions in the browser are true. So what we tend to use media queries for is to get our websites to display properly across multiple screen sizes. So normally what you will have is you'll have a media query that shows how your website should render on a desktop, then how it should render, there we go, on a tablet. And then sometimes it's even different tablet sizes. Like you'll notice this will change one more time, right there. And then how it should render on a cell phone as one, and you can see everything resizes. So the website always looks correct no matter what screen size it is being shown on. And you can check and see which websites are actually responsive by opening them up and starting to close your browser tab. And every time the layout changes, you know that you've hit a media query. So those are what media queries are, and that's what they do. And I did, like I said, there's a great video for you to watch on media queries. I'm not going to play it during our live session, but it really explains it. So again, what do media queries do? You may have a web page with rows and columns and it's responsive, but it doesn't look good on a small screen. So the media queries can help with that. We can add a breakpoint where certain parts of the design will behave differently on each side of that breakpoint. So if you remember when you took your Muse class, you probably created breakpoints in which your design would break and it would redraw the design once it hit that break point. It's the same thing. That's what a media query does. And I will say this, a media query actually handles that a lot better than the breakpoints and views handles it. So, you know, it's because of the extra coding that goes into it. So also yesterday, you know, and I've already showed you, we went over the box model in HTML, and we created our entire layout. But today, we are going to add some CSS to our website. So for everybody at home who is watching, make sure that your Adobe Dreamweaver is up to date. If not, please update it immediately and see the announcements for the instructions. It's that announcement that's right up at the top. And then I do have two links here, which are really good resources on the web. W3 Schools will help you out in a pinch all the time. I use W3 Schools all the time. And then I also have this validator.w3.org. The validator checks the markup validity of web documents such as HTML. If you wish to validate specific content, such as, you know, RSS feeds or CSS style sheets, mobile OK content, or to find broken links, there are other validators and tools available as well. Basically, what it does is it scans your code for errors. Like, remember when I was telling you that you should only have one H1 tag? If you run it through the validator and you have more than one, it'll flag that for you and let you know. So it's a good, if you do plan to do this for a living, it's good to run your code through the validator and make sure that, you know, you're not missing anything that you need to have there. All right, so without further ado, let's get back into Dreamweaver. Casey, if you want, it's up to you, but you can turn your microphone on if you think it'll be easier for you to work along. It's definitely up to you.
Okay.
So let me know when you are in Dreamweaver and you have your site open from yesterday.
I'm ready.
All right, great. So everybody should basically kind of have the same view that I have right now, which I'm going to keep it in split view for specific reasons. So that way you can kind of watch what's happening live, but also see what's happening with our code at the same time. So you got index.html open, and you're probably in the Files tab. So what I want you to do is I want you to navigate over to CSS Designer, and if it's not set up in two columns like this, you may need to just kind of drag it over to the left a little bit until it becomes two columns. You don't have to do that. I just find it easier to work this way. So it's one of those things that's definitely a preference, but I find it easier to work this way. So let me know when you're on the CSS Designer.
Okay.
All right. So what we need to do is we actually need to create a CSS style sheet because we don't have one yet. When you are downloading your files for the student website that you're going to be creating, luckily, the CSS sheet is already there. And I do go over in that video exactly how to attach it, and it's one less step you have to do. But today we're going to create one from scratch because I think it's good to know how to create one. So in this sources panel right here, what you're going to do is you can either click on the plus button or click on this big button that says add a new CSS source, and it's going to pull up this drop-down menu. And we're going to do create a new CSS file because we don't have one to attach. It's going to pull up this this box. So let me know when you get to that point.
I'm there.
All right. So we're going to name this, let's just name it live session and then click browse. And it should open up your week 1 site, bring you right into that folder. So make sure you're in there.
Yep.
And where it says save as, it's at the top, just name it live session. And click save. And then just click OK.
Okay.
And you should have that live session.css in your sources.
Sources. Where?
Right next to, like right where you would click to add a source, after you save it, it should have made a live session.css file in there.
Yep.
All right, awesome. And you'll notice up here that now you have two tabs. Underneath the word index.html, like your file, you have one that says source code, and you have one that says live session.css. Because now we can tab between our HTML, which is our source code, and our CSS code.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to put it on the CSS, the live session.css, because we need to add in a selector right now. All right, so in your CSS designer, you're going to click on in media, you're going to click on the word global. And because everything we're putting in is going to go into our global, because we're not making media queries right now. Let's take this slow. And then once you have the word global selected, what I want you to do is there's a box right underneath it called selectors, and I want you to hit the plus sign.
Okay.
And put in a selector. We're going to name it HTML. Make sure you spell it correctly, because I already did not. And you'll notice as you start to type, it's going to guess for you what it is that you want to create a selector for. So you can just hit enter and it'll do it again, and then hit enter to actually create that selector.
Okay.
All right. So over here in your properties panel, it's going to look one of two ways, depending on whether or not you have show set selected. So if you have show set selected like this, you're not going to see anything. But if you don't, you'll see that you can add in all of these properties, which is great, basically. But we're not going to add in a property there. What I want you to do is I actually want you to go over into the code and put your cursor right after that first bracket. So it says HTML space, and then there's that first squiggly bracket. Okay. Put your cursor there and hit enter, which should move you to line 3. And we're going to type in some code. So let me know when you're down to line 3.
Ready?
All right. So start to type in box. And you'll notice at the bottom it says box sizing. Like it'll start to put that in. Select box sizing.
Okay.
And then select border box.
Okay.
And then at the end, do a semicolon. So the one with the dot and then the comma at the bottom.
Got it.
All right. Then on line 4, this is some weird code, and it's easier to type it in. This is really going to be the only code we're actually manually typing in. Go figure, we do it at the beginning. All right, so on line 4, after the last squiggly bracket, hit enter again, which should bring you to line 5. Okay. And this is going to be a little bit weird too. You might want to just watch me do it. You're going to do asterisk, comma, space, asterisk, colon, before, comma, asterisk, after, space, squiggly, and then hit enter.
Okay.
So I'll leave that up on the screen for you so you can see exactly what that looks like.
So it's asterisk, comma, space.
Yep.
Asterisk.
Colon.
Colon.
The word before.
Before.
Comma.
Comma.
Asterisk.
After.
After. And then space, squiggly, bracket. And it's going to give you 2 squiggly brackets as soon as you do the squiggly bracket.
Uh-huh.
And then hit enter.
Okay. My before did not come up with blue, though.
And you're sure you have a colon there?
A colon.
Is it green? Mine's green.
No, it's white.
All right, let me see. So you have asterisk, comma, space.
Asterisk, comma, space. Yes.
Asterisk,
Uh-huh.
colon, no space.
Yeah.
The word before,
Yes.
comma,
Uh-huh.
no space,
Uh-huh.
asterisk, after.
Yes.
All right, it should work. If for some reason it doesn't, I can look at your code after.
Okay.
All right, and then right here we're going to type in box and then select box sizing again. And then we're going to, and it'll just put in the code for you. And then we're going to select inherit and then do a semicolon.
Okay.
And then you can just kind of navigate your cursor down to line 8 and just leave it there.
Okay.
And so when we click back in the CSS designer, you'll notice that it added in those 2 selectors for us, which was very nice of it. So everything we do in the code gets added into the CSS designer, and then anything we add in the CSS designer will be added in the code. So it goes like, it's kind of like, you know, they both sit there and mirror each other. Some people, like I said, they like to just sit there and type in code. Some people like to visually add in the code. So there's 2 ways that you can do it in Dreamweaver, but they both sync up immediately as you're doing it, which is a good thing. All right, so you're going to select this last selector, the before after one. And the reason why is we're going to add in our selectors in a logical order, so working our way down the page. And whatever selector you have selected, like that's not crazy to say, it will add the next selector after, and then the next selector after, and the next selector after. So if I had HTML, it would put one in between the HTML and before the HTML, before after. Like it would put it there. So because I wanted to go after this one, that's why I select the last one, basically. It's just the way it works, sort of.
Well, it makes sense.
All right. So you're going to hit the plus sign.
Okay.
And it's going to give you another box. It may or may not put in some random CSS selector that it thinks that you want. If it does, just hit backspace. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. So I just want to, if it did happen for you, that's for everybody who's watching at home. If there's anything in the box, just hit backspace and it'll get that out. So we're going to type in nav, N-A-V, space, U-L, and hit enter. You'll probably have to hit enter twice.
Okay.
And you'll notice you've got it here, and it showed up in the code for you. But we're going to actually use our CSS designer to add in the properties.
I can't find my properties. Oh, there they are.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
No problem. So you should have layout, text, border, background, and more. We want to be in layout, which is the first one. And if you're not seeing all of these options, you may have show set selected. So you'll have to de-click that to get all of your options to show up.
Okay.
So we want to set our margin at 0. So we're going to scroll down a little bit to where it says margin, and we're just going to put 0 in that box right next to the word margin and hit enter.
Where it says set shorthand?
Yes.
0. Got it.
And then we're going to scroll down a little bit more, and where it says padding set shorthand, we're going to put 0 in there as well.
Okay.
Then what we are going to do, and you'll notice it kind of like moved our everything over up here. You may or may not have noticed, but that's actually what happened. Then we're going to scroll down a little bit more until we find list style type, which is, all right, so you'll get to like text,
Got it.
scroll, text shadow, then you'll get to list style type. We want to set that as none. And watch what happens to home and W3 schools in our navigation when we do that. Oh, you can't see. It got rid of the bullet points. They were already off the side, but that's what it did. Sorry about that. But it's off the screen, so you can't see it. Then what we're going to do is we're going to set the color, the background color. So you're going to go up here to the top to that little box with the horizontal, or not horizontal, the lines, yeah, for background, and we're going to set the background color. So it's up to you, whatever color you want to set. You can grab the little slider and select a color, or you can just type in the same color that I am going to put, which is, you have to leave the hashtag there. C2A47F. It's brown. I'm just going to put a brown background.
Okay.
And then what we want to do, I just got to see where it's located. Sometimes I wish you could do like a really quick like search, like I'm looking for this. You know, everything is like, it's like scroll.
That would be too easy.
Yeah, right? I know, right? All right, what you can do, scroll all the way to the bottom where it says add a value, add property, add value. And we're going to type in the word overflow. And you'll notice it'll select it for it. You can select it. And then where it says undefined, click hidden.
Oh, hold on. I just lost my properties. I don't know what I hit.
Go back into the CSS designer.
I'm there.
Okay.
I have to do overflow.
Yep. So you'll type in overflow, and then it'll give you the option when you click in that box to select hidden.
Okay.
And let me know when you're all set with that.
Okay.
All right. Next, what we're going to do is with NavUL selected in the selectors, we're going to add a new selector. So it's going to put it right after. And we're going to call it nav space LI. So we're going to be targeting those specific list items this time. This targeted our entire unordered list. Now we're targeting just the individual list items within our unordered list. So you can see how it's targeting things.
Okay.
And up here in properties in layout, we are going to scroll down and look for float left. It looks like an American flag. And you'll click on that.
Hold on.
All right, and you'll notice it moved it all up into one line, but it's all like running into each other, which is fine.
I'm still trying to find float left.
Okay, it's underneath, it goes margin, padding, position, and then float left is the little flag that looks like an American flag.
Got it. All right.
And it should all be on one line.
Yep.
All right, so now we're gonna add in another selector. It can get redundant. It's going to be nav space LI space A. So now what we're targeting is we're targeting the actual links inside of our lists.
Okay.
So let's scroll up again. First thing we're going to go to is display. To set the display, and click in that box, and you want to click block.
And I want to click box, you said?
Block.
Block?
Yep.
Got it.
Then we're going to go up to the text property, and under color, we're going to literally type in white. There are a couple of colors that you can actually type in the name and it will just add the color, so you don't have to use the hex code, and white happens to be one of them, which is good. And then you're going to come down right here to where it says text align and set it to centered. Then where it says right underneath it, text decoration, there's a box with a slash through it, which if you hover over, it says none. Click on that. And then we're going to have to go back into the layout tag. So let me know when you've finished that.
I'm there.
All right, awesome. All right, so we're going to add some padding in. What padding is it kind of adds like a buffer of space between items. So let me think of like the best way to describe it. It's kind of, actually, hold on. I'll pull up, I think I have a graphic somewhere. Padding CSS graphic. This probably has an example. This element has a padding of, all right, yeah, let me show you. So if it kind of like adds space like around, so nothing can creep in on the elements basically. So
Okay.
this has a padding of like 50 on the top, 30 on the right, 80 on the left. And if I start to change it like to all be 30 and click run, you can see how it changes that spacing. So that's what padding is. So that's what we're going to do right now. I just wanted to kind of give you a little example before we do it here. So what we're going to do is for the top, we're going to set the padding to 14 px for pixels. The left, or the bottom is also going to be 14. So I'll do the top and the bottom together. The left is going to be 16 pixels, and the right is going to be 16 pixels. Now, what do we notice about independence and contact?
About independent. Oh, they're still together.
Right. All right. Here, why do you think that is?
I have no clue.
Okay, so we're targeting in the list item, we're targeting A, which is a link, but we haven't set these up as hyperlinks yet. So see how it's not targeting them?
Yep.
All right, so this is what we're going to do to fix that. In the live view, double click on independence first until you get that orange bar.
Okay.
And click on the little hyperlink. And I just want you to add a hashtag in there and hit enter.
Okay.
So what a hashtag is it creates a dummy link where it's like, I'm making this a link, but you haven't given it a property, basically. So we're going to do the same exact thing to contact. So double click to get that orange box, select the word, hyperlink, add in a dummy link. So now we can watch all four of them and see how they see them move.
Okay.
All right. So we finished with all the properties for our nav li a selector. So select the last one you made, that nav li a. We're gonna make another selector underneath it. So you'll click the plus button.
Okay.
And for this one, we are going to call this nav space li space a colon and then hover, which if you type the H, it'll bring up hover for you. You can double click it. So nav space li space a colon hover.
Okay.
And I want you to go up into background in your properties. And you can either change your background to the color I say, or you can pick a color. So I'm going to do hashtag 00D7DC. And I'll hit enter, which is that kind of teal blue. And look at what happens now. I've added a CSS selector, so when I hover over my navigation, it changes the color.
So cool.
So see how easy it's all starting to come together?
Yeah.
All right. All right, so we have now at this point, we have taken care of turning our navigation. It looks more like navigation that we see on a website, you know, instead of just that bulleted list with some underlined links. You know, it definitely looks more modern now.
Yeah.
All right. So let's do quickly a file, save all related files. So that's going to save our source code, our CSS, and our index HTML. Save all related files.
Okay.
Because we know that Dreamweaver likes to be quirky with us and give us problems. So save and save often. Exactly. All right, so next what we're going to tackle is we are going to actually tackle our main area. Even though we have our aside text before it, we're gonna tackle our main area. So with nav LIA hover and your selectors selected, which will never be not easy to say, make another selector and we're going to call it just main. And hit enter.
Got it.
So at this point, we're going to start to move some things around. So let's go to layout. And we're going to scroll down to that float again, which is underneath margin, padding, position, then float. And we want to tell it to float right. It's not going to do anything yet, but we're going to tell it that.
So, right.
You can see it added in the code right there. Then we're going to scroll back up and we're going to set some margins. So I want to set the top margin to 30 pixels. You'll notice it bumps it down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Then I want to set the bottom margin to 30 pixels. Then this is going to be a little weird. I want to set the margin on the left. I'm going to have to click on that little PX and change it to a percentage. And I want to set it to 0%. And then on the right, I'm going to click on the PX again, change it to percentage, and I want to change it to 1.5%.
Okay.
Then I'm going to scroll all the way to the top, and I'm going to change the width. I want to change it to, first I'm going to change it to percentage, and it's going to get crazy as soon as you do that. You're going to change it to percentage, it's going to default to 0, and it's going to run off the screen. We'll do this every single time that you change a width in the properties panel. So you'll see when you watch the other video where I'm like, it's going to change it to 0, and it's going to go away. Don't worry. So we're going to change it to 63% and hit enter. And you'll notice, see how it's moved it over to the right-hand side?
Yes.
All right. And then we're going to go to background, and we're going to change the background color. I'm just going to change it to yellow. Yellow is one of those other colors you can just type in. I'm just going to type in yellow. And there it is. Boom. Which this is literally the worst color scheme on the face of the planet, but it really shows the difference in what's going on before we're located, which is fine. And if you wanted to, which why don't we while we're here, go back into the layout tab. Let's give it a little bit of padding because we saw that that looks a little bit better than it running right up against the edges. So I'm going to give it padding of, I'm just going to set the shorthand to 20 pixels. And that'll add 20 pixels of padding all around on all sides.
What's the shorthand? Oh, the top?
Yep, right at the top.
20 pixels. Okay. And it just
so that looks a little bit better.
Okay.
All right, so next I'm going to make another selector, and I'm going to deal with my aside section now, my sidebar. So with main selected, I'm going to hit the plus sign, and I'm going to type in aside. I'll hit enter. And because I floated, if I want them to be side by side, I floated my main section to the right. So where do you think I need to float my aside section?
To the side?
Yes, but to which side? If I want them to be side by side.
Oh, to the left.
Right, exactly. So I'm going to go into layout and I'll scroll down and I'm going to float it left. And it's going to move it way up to the top at first. And you'll notice it's like completely like making my footer crazy too. But that's okay. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in my margin. So I'm going to add in 30 pixels at the top, 30 pixels at the bottom. On the left, I'm going to change the it to a percent again, and I'm going to change it to 1.5 on the left. You'll notice I did 1.5 on the right of my main, and then on the right-hand side, I'm going to change it to a percent and change it to 0%.
Sorry.
That's okay. And then, all right, then we're going to go up and we're going to have to deal with the width. So we're going to go up to the top, the first one. We're going to click on width where it says auto, change it 2%. And again, it's going to default to 0 and it's going to look crazy for a second. Okay. But we're going to change it to 30% width.
Okay.
And this one, we're going to make the background. So click on the background. I'm going to make it green. So I'm just going to type in green instead of choosing a green. And it's going to be gross. Now, I want to do the same exact thing with that padding that I did, because it's running right up to the sides. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go back into layout and where it says set shorthand right next to padding. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to do 20 pixels.
Okay.
And then under text, just because why not? I'm going to change the color to white just because it's such a dark green. It's way easier to read white text on it. So you'll notice that, and then let's do a file save all related files again.
Okay.
And let's quickly do a real-time preview so we can see what's going on. It's going to look a little crazy still.
And how do you do that again?
If you go to, this little icon down here, real-time preview, or you can do File, Real-time Preview, and select your browser.
Okay.
So when we look at the preview, it's not working yet, and the reason why is my footer is in the way, and my padding might be a little bit too much. I need to look at my math again. Hold on one second. I had 63% and 30% plus 1.5. I think my padding might be a little bit too much. So let me you have to do math to get this to work. There we go. All right. Change in your aside. Change the width from 30% to 20%.
For the margin?
Not for the margin, all the way up at the top, the width.
Oh, 20%. Got it.
Yep. And then you can double check, and it should be running side by side with the footer in the middle, which is not where the footer goes, but that's okay. We're going to deal with that in a moment. Everything is math when you're using percentages. Like my padding adds space, so that space needs to be calculated when I think of the overall width of my website to get myself to, I can't be bigger than 100% of my page. Okay. You know what I mean? So it's like you got to kind of like, if you're adding in some padding, you're going to have to adjust your width, or you're going to have to adjust your margins, things like that to make it end up working, basically. All right, so next we're going to deal with that footer. So let's add with a side selector. So we're going to add another selector. I'm going to name it footer for the footer.
Okay.
And under background color, I'm going to change my background color to black. And this is going to go nuts for a second. See how I made everything black? Then I'm going to go to the text. And I want to change the text color to white so I can read it. Then there's one more thing I need to do, which will move it down to the bottom. I need to go to layout, and I need to scroll down until I get to clear. And I want to hit the one with the box with the arrow that goes through the middle, which is the third one over, and it's clear both. And that will put it down at the bottom of the page.
Hold on, I'm still trying to find that.
It's underneath, so you go margin, padding, position, and float, and then clear. And it's clear both.
Clear both. Got it.
All right. And then you can even change, like, if you go back up into text, you can center that text if you want.
Okay.
And text align center.
Okay.
Now if we do file, save all related files, and we look at our preview again, everything is where it belongs. We've got our sidebar on the side. We have our main area of our website, which takes up, like 2/3 of it, and this takes up like 1/3 of it. And then we have our footer, which stays down at the bottom.
Mine says you tried to access an internal HTML page, which cannot be opened on the device for preview.
Oh, your Dreamweaver might be acting up.
Okay.
Yeah, it's up to you. If you want to quit out of it and then restart it, I can wait for you. If you want to just
we'll just keep
going. All right. It's one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, and thanks for playing, Dreamweaver.
Yeah, right.
That's it. It happens to me all the time. All right.
So, but if this happens on like the assignment, I just close out and go back into it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And believe me, it's not just you. It happens to me all the time. And I feel like with each new version of Dreamweaver, it gets a little bit buggy.
Yeah.
So you unfortunately, you just kind of gotta watch it.
Yeah.
All right. So there is one more thing that I want us, not one more thing, but another thing I want us to do that we didn't do at the beginning, because I wanted to kind of put everything where it needed to go first. So up here, the second selector, that before after selector, I want you to select that one because we're going to make another selector underneath it.
Okay.
So hit plus.
Yep.
And we're going to name this one body.
Okay.
And hit enter.
Okay.
And then under background, instead of doing a color this time, I want us to do an image. So where it says background image, URL, enter file path, see how there's a little folder right there for browse? Yeah. Click on browse, and in that images folder that you downloaded, there's a file called school.png, and I want you to select that and hit open.
Okay.
And it should have
made the background brown.
Yes.
Kind of graduate hats and bells. And
yes.
Stuff, right?
And you can repeat it. It should repeat on its own. But in case if it's not, if you look down, like there's background repeat, you can set it to repeat. Now look, and there it is. It's showing up on mine.
Is it just the regular repeat?
Yep, the very first one, yes.
Okay.
Hey.
So hi Thomas.
I got one quick question.
Yes.
Where did he come from?
I actually I was in Craig's class because I got 2 classes this mod.
Yep.
So I just left his lecture and jumped into this one. So that answers that question. We only have an hour left.
Yes.
Okay. That's all I needed to know.
Yep, but if you want to just, we're too far along at this point for you to follow along, but if you want to watch, you'll get some good information from this.
Oh, I'm still going to stick around and watch.
All right, awesome, yeah. All right, so that's how we added in our background image. Next, what I had wanted us to do is, hold on, I gotta click over to my source code and see what I've got going on here. All right, so we had one more image that was in there, and that was a logo, I believe. Let me double check. Yeah, the IU logo. All right, I'm like, let me make sure I'm not losing my mind. So, I want you to select source code. And we're going to go back into that DOM panel. And in the header, so you'll have to open up like your div wrapper and then open up your div header so you can see what's going on in there. I want you to insert a child. So it should come up above your nav. And I want you to name it H1. And hit enter.
Okay.
All right. And it's going to say, this is the content for layout H1. Let's get rid of that text so we don't forget to do that. You can either get rid of it down here in the code, or you can get rid of it up here by double clicking until you get that orange bar and just selecting it and deleting it.
Got it.
All right. Then what you're going to do is you are going to insert a child again. And we're going to say IMG. And hit enter. And it's going to pop up a window where it's like, which image would you like? And we're going to select that IU logo, the logo image basically.
Got it.
And just hit open. And that is going to add in our Independence University logo right in there.
All right.
So now what I want you to do is just in your browser, pull up the Independence University website. I don't know the URL off the, independence.edu. And we're going to copy and paste that in. So copy that URL once you pull that up. We're going to go back into Dreamweaver. And in our DOM panel with image selected in the properties down here, we're just going to paste in that hyperlink.
Okay, in the DOM panel with the where?
So you'll have image selected in your DOM panel because you want to target that image.
Got it.
And in link, in properties, you can paste in the link. And then over here on the right, you should see a box that says Alt.
All right, you have to hold on 1 second because my properties are low. Okay. So put it in the link.
Yep.
And paste it and then
click in that Alt box.
Alt. Okay.
Is this the assignment or is this practice?
This is practice.
Okay, so this is going to be similar to the assignment?
A lot of the things, what I have done, and I was explaining this earlier, is what I have done is I have created a video for you to watch that shows you coding the assignment. And it's just currently processing in YouTube right now. And I'm going to upload that video. And I think that that's what I'm going to do for this week. And I'll get into that actually. As soon as we finish this, I'll give a better explanation of that. But I'm going to make individual videos for each of the pages for you to follow along. But I'll get into a little bit more detail about that as soon as we finish this.
Okay, so that works.
All right, so with your cursor in that Alt box, what the Alt tag is, and if you've taken Muse, you've probably done this, you have to add in Alt tags for your images, so that way if they don't load, it shows people on the screen like this is supposed to be an Independence logo, but it's not loading. So I'm going to just type in Independence logo there. And then because I created that hyperlink for the logo, I want to do that target blank again like we did yesterday. So underneath, or it might even be over to the side, I'm going to select target blank.
Okay.
So it opens up in a new tab because I don't want to send users away from my website.
Got it.
All right. Now, what I want you to do is just kind of copy that URL for Independence again, because we're also going to fix it up here in our navigation because we put in a dummy link, remember?
Yes.
All right. So you can go up to your navigation and click, double click until you get the orange box around Independence. Select it. And then where that dummy hyperlink is, just delete the hashtag and put independence.edu and hit enter.
All kinds of clicking.
Yes, exactly. And then we're going to have to do the same thing again. So down here in the code, select, just kind of put your cursor in where it has that ahref independence.edu where the link is.
Mm-hmm.
And in properties, it'll allow you to add in that target blank. Because we'll want that to open up in a new tab.
After the parentheses?
It should, if you just select, like put your cursor in there, you can manually do target blank in the properties and it'll add the code in for you. And yes, it will be after the parentheses.
Got it.
All right. And then again, let's do a file, save all related files.
Okay.
And I'm just going to double check that it works. There we go. Opens it up. And I'll check it here. And that opens it up. All right, awesome. Go back into Dreamweaver. Now, we have, at this point, we've pretty much made a working website. The only thing that's missing is we put a dummy link for our contact page, and that's because I want us to make a second page based off of this page. So this is where it gets a little bit crazy for a second. What I want you to do is do a file, save as, and name this. And now every time you name a page, it needs to be, there can't be any spaces, any like weird characters, things like that, and everything needs to be lowercase. So I want you to name this contact.html lowercase and put it in the same folder with your site and just hit enter.
Okay.
All right, so you'll notice after you did that, that it opened it up in a new tab right here. See how you have your index page and you have your contact page?
Yep.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go over to index first, and we're going to link that contact page in our navigation to the contact page we just created.
Okay.
So click on contact, click again, basically double click until you get the orange box, select the whole word, and again, where it's got that dummy link, take out the hashtag, and you're going to browse for file and select contact.html and hit open.
Okay.
But we're going to have to do it again on the contact page because we fixed it, the navigation here, but these are two separate pages now. So they're two separate files. So we're going to have to do it again over here. So we'll double click again until we get that orange box. Select it, take out the hashtag, browse, and do contact. And hit open. Make sure that, yes, there we go.
Okay.
And you'll notice that when we have pages, inside of our site, we don't ask them to open up in a new tab. We only do that for pages that are outside of our site. So let's just manually change some of our text so we can see the difference between navigating between the two pages. So I'm gonna select, just in the live view, I'm gonna double click on my main area until I get the orange bar. And I'm gonna just put, this is my contact page, exclamation point, yay. And then over in my sidebar, I'm gonna do the same thing, and I'm just gonna say, if I see this, my navigation works.
And this is still in contact, right?
Yep, we're only changing the text on our contact page. And we'll do a file save all. And then I'm gonna double check. So I've got my home, I have W3 schools, that opens up in a new tab, that works. My independence opens up in a new tab. And my contact page goes to my contact page, and then home goes to my index page. So I can bounce back and forth between the two. And I can tell by the text changing.
Okay.
So we have now created two pages that are linked inside of our web page. So we actually have like a working website, not just a web page, but a whole working website right now. All right, so let's grab, just go to Google real quick and type in Facebook icon and go to images and basically click on the first one that you see, this one, this 250. Just click on that and do a save image as, put it in your images folder. So you'll have to kind of navigate to your week 1 site, to that images folder, and you can leave it named Facebook art.png and just hit save.
How do I do save image as?
Right click.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to look for the Twitter icon too. And again, I'm just going to pick this. I'm going to pick this small one right here. And I'll right click, do save image as, and I'm going to save it. Whoops. Save image as. And I can leave it named Twitter128.png. That's completely fine. So this is something that you're going to have to do this week on the actual site. So we might as well try it here first. A very easy version of it. We're going to add the icons into our footer. So just the tiny icons, and it's blue, and I know it's a black footer, but you know, we're not gonna get into color choices at the moment. So what I want you to do is in the DOM, I want you to select the footer, just footer, and we want to insert a child. And again, it's gonna give me a div, basically. And where it says div, I want to rename that table.
Okay.
And hit enter. And I'm going to open that table up so I can see, open everything up so I can see exactly what's going on. And where it says the word table, we're going to actually, there we go. Double click to the right so you can name it something. And I want you to name it #social.
Okay.
And hit enter. Now you'll notice that in your footer, it put this default table with like 3 cells, 3 columns and 3 rows. We don't need that many. We only need 2 because we only have the, and it also defaulted and put a border of 1, and we'll deal with that after. We'll take off the border after. But it just kind of defaults to do that. And if you click, you can see, all right, TD is this cell, and then this TD is this cell. Like these are the first 2 cells. Like if you just click in the live area, it'll show you in your DOM where they're located. So that means that I can get rid of this last TD, this whole section of TR, and then this whole section of TR. So I'm going to select them and just hit delete. Because I don't need all of that. I just needed a table basically with 2 cells.
Okay.
All right. So click on in the DOM, click on the first TD.
Okay.
And hit insert a child. And we're going to type in IMG. And hit enter.
Hold on one sec. Okay, there we go.
And that's going to bring up your little browser, and you can select the Facebook one. And hit open. And it's going to add it in huge, but that's okay. We're going to deal with that after.
Okay.
All right. So next you're going to select the next TD, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to insert a child of an image. So IMG, hit enter, and I'm going to select Twitter and hit open. And it's going to add Twitter in really huge too.
Hold on. I can't, there it goes. Okay.
All right, so you got the 2 icons in there?
Almost.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so there is one thing that we forgot to do. So I'm going to click on the Facebook one. I forgot to add in the alt text. This is one of the things, like, there's going to be one thing when you do web design that you will forget repeatedly. For me, it's adding my alt tags. It's like, it doesn't matter how often I do it. It's like I get ahead of myself, and especially if I'm teaching and I'm talking, like, coding is hard enough on its own. Never mind speaking in coding.
Yeah.
So, it's like I'm always like, hold on. All right, let me backtrack. Sorry about that. So select your first, your Facebook image, and in the alt area, just type in Facebook. And then you can do the same thing for Twitter. Select the Twitter icon, and just type in Twitter.
Hold on, I completely lost where that would go.
In the alt, in properties.
I lost my properties. Properties. Where are they up there?
If you go to window properties and select it, and then, if that unclicks it and select it again, it'll probably move it to the front.
Yes, got it.
All right. So let me know when you add in those alt tags.
All right. I don't see the alt thing. Why am I not? Is it under?
Do you have the image selected?
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Okay.
I didn't have it selected. So I'm supposed to put Facebook?
Yeah, put Facebook for the Facebook one, and then put Twitter for the Twitter one.
Okay.
I'm just going to blow my nose real quick while you're doing that. All right, there we go.
I almost have it. Hold on.
No worries.
Because I think my computer is just deciding to act slow now.
It's had enough. I will say this, sometimes, and especially before you start working on the assignment, restart your whole computer.
Okay.
Because Dreamweaver uses a lot of resources, like memory resources. So kind of restarting the whole computer and, you know, only run like the programs you need, like Dreamweaver, and then like maybe one of your browsers, you know, it just kind of frees up some resources for it, because Dreamweaver is a memory hog.
Yes.
So that'll definitely help. All right. So do you have the two alt tags in?
Yes.
All right, great. All right. So all right, which, are you on your contact page still?
Yes.
All right. So let's hit save, or file, save all, basically.
Okay.
What happens if we go back over to our index page and scroll down?
It's not there.
Exactly, because we only did it on one page. So this is something we're going to have to do a lot in this course, is we're going to have to copy big chunks of code from one page to another page. So let's do this now in a way where it's not a huge chunk of code, but it's still a good amount of code. And there's two ways that you can do this. It's really up to you. You can start at the footer element and copy from like the open footer element to the closed footer element, and literally do a Command C, go into HTML, go into index, go down and select footer to close footer and paste it in there that way. Or, and I'm just going to Command Z this, you can select in the DOM, right click on the whole footer section and select copy. If you copy it in this way, which is kind of easier to see to copy, there's just one extra step we'll need to do, which I want to show you. I'm going to show it to you this way because it is easy to copy and paste the code in. But when you're doing large chunks where you might need to be like, I need to copy my footer and then hold down my Command key and copy my header, and I might need to copy this, you know, you would do it in the DOM panel. So I'm just going to right click on copy, I'm losing my mind. Right click on footer, select copy to copy it. I'm going to go back into my index and I'm going to hit paste. And what's going to end up happening is I'm going to have two footers for a second. I'm going to have the new footer, which is down at the bottom, and we have the old footer, which is above it. So if I do it this way, I just need to delete that old footer.
Okay.
So let me know when you have it copied into your index.html.
I think I do.
All right, awesome. All right, so again, we're going to do a file save all. Now, we need to deal with these ginormous social media icons because clearly they're overpowering the rest of our page. So let's go into our selectors, and I want you to find that footer selector, which should be your last one, and we're going to make a new selector.
Okay.
So we're going to hit the plus sign,
Yep.
and we're going to call it hashtag social, because we just want to target those social media icons, and we name that whole table social. So we're going to hit enter. And up here at width, I am going to set the width to, let's try 30 pixels. And set my height to auto. I might need to change this around. Hold on one second. Auto. pixels. Why are you not doing what I want you to do? Hold on one moment. Let me just check one thing. Oh, that's why. Yeah, check the height, 20. There we go. All right. I missed a step when we were doing our alt tags because I forgot my alt tag, so I missed a step. All right. What you're going to need to do is click on image again, and we'll have to change it on the other page because I should have had you do this before we copied it over, so I apologize. And for the Facebook one, make sure that this is linked, and it should default to being locked, which is locking your height and your width proportionally. And we're going to change the height to 20. And then if you click off, it'll change the width as well in the Facebook.
Okay.
And then let me know when you do that.
Okay.
And then you're going to click on that Twitter one. You're going to do the same thing. Change the height to 20. And then if you click kind of like in the alt, it'll change your width to correspond.
Okay.
All right. And we also forgot to take off the border. So in the code, see how it says table width is equal to 200, border is equal to 1?
Mm-hmm.
I want you to change the 1 to a 0, and that removes that border. Oops. And then we can continue adding in the selector, because now it'll work what I want you to do. All right, so go back into that social selector that we created, and the width should be auto and the height should be 20 pixels, which is fine. And then we're gonna scroll down to float, and we want it to float right.
Okay.
And see how it moves it to the right-hand side of that text, and it keeps it all on one line.
Yeah.
All right, so that's what we want to do. So we get to copy and paste again because we changed the HTML of our table in this footer. So again, it's not going to change in the contact footer. It changed the CSS. See how it's now floating right, but they're ginormous on the contact page. So we're going to have to do the same thing again. But this is all good practice because you're going to have to copy and paste large amounts of HTML. So it's good practice that we did it this way, honestly. So I'm going to right click on that footer again, and I'm going to copy it, go back over to contact, and I'm going to just hit paste. And I'm going to have two footers for a second. And I want to get rid of the first one. And it might have done this to you. Mine, for some reason, when I did that, it renamed my table social 2. Just take the 2 off the back and hit enter, and that'll fix it. Because there couldn't be two. The reason why is when you use a hashtag, that's an ID. If you use a period to name something, everything over here needs to either be named with a hashtag or with a period. If it's named with a period, it's a class. And you can have multiple classes on a page that all have the same name. If you use a hashtag, that's an ID. And you can only have one ID, like one social ID per page. So because I already had something named social, it automatically added the 2 because Dreamweaver was like, you can't have 2 things with an ID of social.
Okay.
So that's why it did that. So we've got our footer down there. We've got the social media icons. Now, what would we normally see if we had social media icons? What might they be linked to?
You mean like the page itself? Like the
yes.
Page
Yep.
itself? Yeah.
Yep. So we can actually do that the same way that we did the Independence University. So you can just type in, under link like www.facebook.com.
Oh.
Click off, So I would again set that target to blank because you don't want anybody to navigate away when they go to facebook.com.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can click on the Twitter, do the same thing, www, only 3 W's, .twitter.com. Click off and set the target to blank. And again, we'll have to go over to our index page
And do the same thing.
and do the same thing. So let's click Facebook. I'm going to add in my Facebook link, facebook.com, target blank, and twitter.com. Click off and target blank.
All right.
And then again, we're going to do a file, save all related files, because we've changed the CSS, we've changed the source code, we've changed all of the HTMLs. Save everything.
Yes.
All right.
Save it often.
Save and save often. So let's double check what we've got going on there. So we've got some social media icons. If I click on those, it should bring me, and now mine's doing the same thing as you. Not fun. Which is fine. I knew that was going to end up happening eventually. Let's see if refreshing it worked. No. All right. That's fine. Whatever. It definitely works. It's just I would need to restart too. And at this point, I definitely don't want to have to restart my machine. All right. So this is how we have successfully put together our footer. We've got some social media icons in it. They're kind of off to the right-hand side. They're links. We have changed the whole background of our page. We have added in a sidebar with some color, a main section with some color, and we've moved our footer down to the bottom. So we did all of that today in basically an hour and a half with our CSS, which is awesome. So let's go jump into the course. And like I said, I don't even know if that video is done. It's still in progress because I'm using up all of my bandwidth with Zoom and everything else. So it's like, you'll be done when you're done. But I made a video because I can't remember if I said this when you and I were talking before I hit record or not. But I'm going to go into the course real quick, so we can look at our week 1 assignment and I can explain the videos that are coming for you guys. So you are making a 5-page website. And let me just open it up real quickly for you. And we'll see if it'll let me preview it. All right, so this is what your website should look like when you submit it for week 1. You'll notice that we've got some navigation. This navigation isn't even as crazy as the navigation we just created with like background rollover effects, so that's good. We have a logo and it's off to the left-hand side. We have a big image. We've got 2 sections in the middle, and then we've got 4 photos. We have a footer, and then we have some social media icons set up at the bottom. So you can kind of see what we've been doing with our practice files, how it's very similar to what we are going to be doing with our week 1 assignment. So when I was trying to decide the best way to show you guys how to code this, I really like working along with you with the practice files because I feel like it's almost like the appetizer to the main course, which is the assignments for each week. So what I have done is I've created already an entire video. It's about an hour and a half long, coding this homepage. And what I will continue to do is make a video for all 5 pages. I will make a separate video for the services page, a separate video for the gallery page, one for the crew page, and one for the contact us page. So that way you can work along, create the pages. You will have to figure out like, all right, what do I need to do that's just part of my assignment? and what do I need to do that's part of my assessment? And that's what we're going to look at right now, because this entire page needs to be coded for week 1, but technically part of it is supposed to be coded for the assignment and part of it is supposed to be coded for the assessment. What will be easiest, in all honesty, is to just follow the whole video, code the whole thing all the way down to the bottom, and submit it for both. That's fine. Like, don't make more work for yourself. I will look over what you have submitted, and because you put the footer into the assignment, I'm going to be like, that's awesome. I'm not going to be like, oh, you put the footer into the assignment. So, like, if you've ever taken a course with me in the past, I like to think that I'm a pretty easygoing instructor, and
You are.
I like to, definitely, I'm not here to reinvent the wheel for you, like, let's do this in the most logical, easiest way possible, because it's already a complex project. So, like, let's not, like, lose our minds here, basically.
I appreciate it.
No problem. It's the least I can do, especially in web design too. So, all right, let's take a look at what we need to do. And this is, like, seriously, like, the longest set of instructions out of everything that you will see, but we'll read it over together as a team. So, all right, to help you get started with coding your first website using Dreamweaver, there are a few things that can help make the connection between the code behind the scenes and the browsers read in order to display what we see when we call up a page website on the internet. The main thing to remember, let code be your friend. There are some times where you're going to want to dump that friend, but hopefully at the end, you guys will make up, everybody will be happy, and you'll have them over for coffee. All it is a language, and it's actually written in English, no matter what country you live in, or if you speak English or another language. So let's dissect it a bit. To display a web page, your internet browser reads and interprets a special set of instructions. These instructions are written primarily in 2 languages, HTML and CSS. Dreamweaver includes features that allow you to build web pages based on the latest web standards. To see how HTML and CSS work together to make a web page, you can read the article here, which I do suggest. This is all really good reading for you guys. All right, so here's your prompt. First, please download the zip file from resources below. So you're going to scroll down and you'll see here's your resources. This is that zip file you need to download. There are 2 parts to this assignment. Part 1, define your site. So that's what we went over yesterday. That's what I keep putting in the announcements. I'm like, define your site, define your site, define your site. Please define your site. Don't forget to define your site. So download these assignment files and follow the instructions below on how to extract and set up your files carefully. That's also why I gave you practice files, because how you extracted and you set up your practice files are the same way you're going to do this for your actual website. So, if you're kind of in the hang of doing things, if you've done it a couple of times, it really makes the most sense. So if you don't define your site correctly, doing the next 3 assignments will cause errors and will make it difficult for your instructor or your learning coach to troubleshoot your files. So that's why I make such a big deal about this.
In the video that you're posting, do you define it again in there? Or
Yes, I do. Yep. Okay. Yep, I do. I start right from scratch. I download everything and I work right from scratch right along with you.
Okay, good.
Yep, so after downloading the zip document, unzip it and extract it by double-clicking on the file. Some may have zip files automatically expand when downloaded, so you need to check and see, how your computer deals with those things. Next, you're going to move the folder, the zip file created, out of your downloads folder. If you haven't already, never work inside of your downloads folder. Into a place on your computer where you organize your files for each class. This class is DES 248. So remember how I made that folder and I was like, make a folder, put week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. And then what you're going to make is you're going to make a folder called, DES 248 lawn care site. your name. And I do go over this in the video as well. I show you again. It's a good idea to give this folder a permanent place on your computer, because if you move it, and Thomas knows this from yesterday, it'll cause Dreamweaver to lose the links for your site if it's moved to a different place on your computer, because him and I didn't kind of troubleshot that yesterday.
Yeah, thank God you shouldn't have to do that. Or
No problem. That's what I'm here for. So inside of this folder contains the following. Everything you will need to build your site over the next 4 weeks in Dreamweaver. You have a sitemap and wireframes for the lawn care company. You have the root folder, which you will define. So I'll actually pull up, I've already downloaded this, so I can pull this up so we can look. So here's your site. So you got, when you unzip it, you'll have the wireframes right there. You will have the root folder, which is the DES 248 lawn care site. There will be an index.html and a styles.css, and then an images folder in there, just like our practice files, only we actually made a CSS file today. They've already made the CSS file for you. A folder with images, that's what I just showed you. Then you will locate that root folder, launch Dreamweaver, and complete part 1, which is defining your site. So attend or watch the live session, watch the video for setting up and defining a site, and read the instructions. Those are 3 ways that you will learn how to define a site. But if you've done it for this live session, you'll feel a little bit more confident when you do it again for your site. Then part 2 is you're going to set up the navigation structure and create a menu for your site. So we're going to make it look like this, because it's going to look very similar when you open it to what our HTML looked like when we were creating the navigation at the beginning, how it was just that unordered list with the bullet points. That's what it's going to look like when you open it up. You will, where am I? Set up the navigation, create a menu. Yes. All right. So then you have part 2. How to do the following items are demonstrated in the live session and are covered in various tutorials found in the week 1 course media page. So we didn't go over this necessarily in the live session. I created you a completely separate video so it wasn't going to be confusing and get mixed in with the other things we were doing. So I will post that video for you as soon as it's done. There are some basic structures already in place. There's basic HTML there. There's also some basic CSS in there for you. You will be building on this page and then adding pages to the same root folder throughout the rest of the month. That's why we made a second page today, so you can kind of get some experience doing that. So don't move it or throw it away after you've submitted each week's assignment or assessment. You will continuously be working in the same file. You're never going to copy that file forward, like for week 2 or week 3. It will always be the same file. So the first thing you'll do is you'll open up that index.html in your root folder. This will be done in the video. You're going to change the title tag to read lawn care and landscaping. And I'm not sure, I might have missed that. Hold on. Let me see. No, title says lawn care and landscaping. And in all honesty, I'm 99% sure it was already there in the text, in the HTML. If not, title tag is number 5. You'll just change, if it says untitled right there, change it to lawn care and landscaping. That was already changed on my version. It might already be changed on yours as well. Then you will attach the provided style sheet. I go over exactly how to do that in the video. You'll style the header, the navigation, and the logo placement per the provided mockup, which is in the folder for lawn care, PSD, mockup, and copy. And it shows a mockup for the desktop version, the tablet version, and the mobile version. They're all in the same file. And then You will check to make sure that the page has been named correctly and the header content resembles the PSD mockup and the CSS media queries are modified for each screen size to make it responsive. I go over all of this. That sounds way more complicated when you read that than what you're actually going to do.
I hope so.
So don't worry. Just follow step by step and you will be totally fine. So you'll zip. When you go to submit it, what you're going to do is you're going to zip that whole folder, the whole lawn care site, this one. I don't need the PSD mockups and I don't need the site images or the wireframes. I just need the lawn care site. So you'll zip just that folder, which has your images, your index, and your style sheet, and that is what you are going to submit to me. And you'll name, after you zip it, name it DES 248 first last assignment 1.zip. So don't rename this folder. Like, watch, I'll show you how to do it. You're going to do compress. And then once it makes that zip file, then you can copy and paste this. Then just rename the zip file. Because you want to name, if you rename that site, all of the folder after you've saved everything, all of your links will be broken and that'll be bad. So you're just going to name it like S. McNamara. If your name's super long, just put your first initial and your last name. Just make sure you always put your first initial because some people have the same last name. And then you would submit this zip file to me. When you download and open up the lawn care site, this is what you will see. These are all of the files that are included, this screenshot right here. So just double check that you're not missing anything. If you are, let me know and I'll individually send you the files, but you should be good because I just downloaded it today and everything showed up. So the folder DES 248 lawn care site, that top folder, that's your root folder that you will be working in for the entire mod. So this is why when I said, do you have Dropbox or maybe Google Drive or something like that? Save it to a cloud, save it somewhere where if you were to lose your hard drive, it's still up on the cloud. That's just a really good idea. You can get a free version of Dropbox. I think it's up to like 100 megabytes that you can get before you run out of room. So consider signing up for a free version of Dropbox. It doesn't hurt. It's just all cloud-based storage. So the images for the homepage are already in the images folder for you. The index.html, which is your homepage, has most of the content and the HTML structure in it. And the styles.css file has a minimal amount of styling to show you HTML and CSS code syntax to help you get started with this mod long project. And that's what I'm here for, is to show you how to do the rest. And then the lawn care PSD mockup and copy folder contains the files you need to work on week two's assignment for mockups and the copy for the web pages that haven't been created yet. And then we have some lawn care site images, which are extra images that will go into all of those other pages. And I show you at the beginning that it's best to kind of copy these images into the images folder right from the start. So you have all of your images together. Like, why be trying to find your images when you're on page 3 and having to, move images around when you're in the middle of coding? That's one thing that drives me bananas. Be as set up as possible, before you start. So I show you how to do that. And then you have the lawn care wireframes PDFs folder, which contains all of the wireframes, which will show you what the other pages are going to look like. So you can see it's just a black and white wireframe, but you have an idea of, your logo. We're going to do like a contact page with a form and some other information. We're going to do a meet the crew page, and here's the information that's going to go on that. And then we're going to do an inspiration gallery, but our gallery is actually going to have a really cool slideshow on it. And then this is the wireframe for the homepage, so you can compare it to the actual mock-up for the homepage. So you can see which one is this? Services page. There we go. So you can see all of the different wireframes, which will kind of show you how the site is going to be created going forward. So all of this will be in that video. Everything that you need to do, assignment 1 and the assessment. So let's look at the assessment real quick before we end for today. So for the assessment, and this is what I mean, like you might as well just do this while you're working on the assignment. Most websites have footers that contain information that needs to show on every page of a website. More often than not, in addition to copyright information, they may also include sitemaps in case of any of the links to the site become broken, social media links, and other content like privacy policies and career opportunities at that company. It's all based on what you and your client decide is needed in this area. So for this assignment, you'll be styling the footers tag based on the PSD file of the mock-up you downloaded in the week 1 assignment. And you will notice that the footer you are going to create, which I should have opened that up in Photoshop, hold on. We'll see if I kill my machine by running Dreamweaver, Photoshop, and everything else I'm running right now. But I'll show you real quick because it's gonna look very familiar to what you did today. And you might get these errors, cannot locate linked assets. Just hit OK or cancel. It's because somebody else created this file, not you. All right, so here is the footer for the web page that you are creating. So we've got some copyright text, and instead of 2, we have 3 social media icons. So that should look very familiar to what we just did today. So that's what you're going to be creating. So your assignment of styling, positioning content, and making the header responsive should make this assignment quite straightforward. And my video where I show you what to do should make it even more straightforward. So if you run into any problems, be sure to join or watch the live session demo or review the tutorials that are found on the course media page for week 1. You will also be creating the other 4 pages for your website and link them to each other in the main navigation list you did in week 1's assignment. Here's the thing. At this point, I just want you to get through. This is me giving you a gimme this week. I just want you to get through coding this page with the footer. You do not need to make the other 4 pages and link them into the navigation. I know it says to do it, and if you do it, that is completely fine. I will be super excited if you follow the example that we used today of, copying a page. That would be great, but you do not need to do it for this because I'm going to make a video for each page and I will show you in the next videos how to do that. So I just want to let you know that's a gimme. If that all you need to worry about for the week 1 assignment in the assessment is that the home page is coded and all the way through to the footer. Just follow the video from beginning to end, save it, zip it, and submit it for both the assignment and the assessment, and you should be good. Don't worry about, the other 4 pages. We will take care of that in the next video. And then this one, you'll take the same exact zip file that you just created. You know how you just created a zip file for assignment 1? Just hold down your option key, literally make a copy of it, and just rename it assessment 1. With your first and last name. Because you've already done all of the coding, the coding's the same for both. So you can just make sure you're submitting in the right spots, basically. And then that is what you need to do for this week. So yeah, so as soon as this edit, which you'll see, like I've named them basically exactly what they are. We can kind of pull up, I think I might be able to look at the video while it's going. You can see it's 1 hour and 25 minutes. I start right at the beginning.
Today we are going to be coding our index page.
So there you go. And I'm going to create the same type of video for every single page. I will go page by page, and each page will have an individual video for you to follow. So that way when you reach the end of the video, you know that you're done for that page. So before we end for today, and I do need to end on time today, does anybody have any quick questions that I can answer in the next minute or two?
I'm good. I think you covered all the basics, and I think I got this, actually.
All right. Awesome. That's what I like to hear. Yeah. And if you do run into any problems, make sure before you email me, some questions, make sure that you watch those videos in full and you really try to work through it, because it's going to be hard for me to answer a question of how come line 27 isn't working for me? I'm not really going to know. So make sure that you are working, your way through the video before you email me. It's not that you can't email me, but it's going to be a lot easier for me to know what you're talking about if you've kind of gotten to the end and there's a one thing that doesn't work. And it's the same with the learning coaches. Chrissy's going to be available tomorrow. So if you do, I would start this as soon as you can. So if you start to run into any problems, that she's available. I believe it's tomorrow and Thursday. You can get in with her and she can kind of go in and see your files that you're working on. Let me just double check her flyer. I believe it's, yes. So tomorrow from 12 to 7 p.m., which is Mountain Time, which is a lot of time, and then Thursday from 4 to 9 p.m. So she has some really good hours this week. And then if you do need anything, please feel free to email me. I'm going to be in and out. I have some random errands I need to run regarding like our taxes and everything else this week. But I will be able to get you on email. So if everybody else is good, thanks for being able to make it today, and I hope to see you again next week.
I know for me, I'm going to have to watch this lecture to do it.
Yep.
But, I know I'm going to do my discussions tonight for both classes, like I said, because I was in Craig's class when I came into this class, which me and you talked about that yesterday. If I have any questions about just the lecture, not the assignment itself, but if something doesn't turn out right in the practice, do you want me to email you and work through it, or do you just want me to focus on the assignment?
Email me, and what I can do is I can actually email you back my code, and you can double check your code against my code.
Okay.
All right. Sound good?
Okay.
All right. Great. All right. Thanks, guys. I will talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.